The memory of his damp hair, the warmth in his eyes, the closeness between them, it made her pulse race. She was pouring a fresh pot of coffee when the cafe door swung open. Of course it was him. Ethan leaned casually against the doorway, a mischievous smile tugging at his lips. "Good morning, Diva. Or should I say, champion?" Diva froze, then scoffed. "You're lucky I'm busy this morning, or I'd throw you out." He stepped further inside, unbothered. "Or maybe I'm here to see if your pastries taste as good as your coffee looks." Her cheeks warmed. She had to remind herself he was still the enemy. And yet, the way he said it, playful and daring, sent shivers down her spine. As the morning passed, they kept up a constant back and forth, jabs, teasing remarks, sly glances. Every touch, every shared smile was electric. At one point, their hands brushed while reaching for the same tray of croissants. Both froze, hearts hammering. "I think we have a problem," he said, his voice low, almost a whisper. "I'm enjoying this too much." Diva glared at him, trying to mask the flutter in her chest. "Don't flatter yourself. It's just coffee and pastries." He leaned closer, their faces inches apart. "Is it?" he murmured, letting the question hang in the air. Before she could respond, a customer entered, breaking the tension. Diva felt a mix of relief and disappointment. She hated how much he affected her. She hated that he made her feel exposed, vulnerable, and alive. As he left, he tossed a wink over his shoulder. "See you tomorrow, Diva. Don't stay up thinking about me too much." Diva clenched her fists, whispering under her breath, "I'll never think about you like that." And yet, she already had. The next morning, Diva arrived at her cafe with a sense of determination and a little apprehension. She couldn't stop replaying Ethan's last visit in her mind. The brush of his hand, the intensity of his gaze, the way he made her pulse race. It was infuriating. Then she saw him across the street, leaning casually against the Ivy Lounge, arms crossed, smirk plastered on his face. "Good morning, Diva. Or should I say, champion?" Diva narrowed her eyes. "You think one challenge can change anything?" "Not one. A week. 7 days of friendly competition. Let's see whose pastries and coffee draw more customers. Winner takes bragging rights, and the loser has to serve the winner a full day at their cafe." Her stomach twisted, both at the idea of losing and the thought of being forced into close proximity with him. But she couldn't back down. Diva smiled, a spark of challenge in her eyes. "You're on." The next 7 days were electric. Both cafes were packed, and the streets of Victoria Island buzzed with gossip. Customers flocked to taste every pastry, every coffee, every special concoction. Ethan and Diva's rivalry was no longer just about business. It had become a dance of glances, touches, and moments that neither could ignore. On the third day, while setting up a display together at a food festival, their hands brushed again. Diva felt a jolt of heat shoot through her, and Ethan's eyes softened just a fraction. "You know," he said, leaning closer, "there's something unfair about this. You make it impossible to focus when you are like this." Diva froze, the warmth in her chest growing unbearable. "Like what?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He smirked, the teasing tone gone, replaced with something raw and dangerous. "Like you're irresistible."
Diva's cheeks flushed. She wanted to protest, to push him away, but a part of her thrilled at his words. The week continued with the intensity of their competition. But now every victory, every challenge was tinged with a simmering tension neither could ignore. By the end of the week, they were no longer simply rivals. They were adversaries in a battle of passion, chemistry, and undeniable attraction, teetering on the edge of something neither was ready to admit, but both desperately wanted. It was a late Friday afternoon in Lagos. and the sun cast a golden glow across Victoria Island. Diva's cafe was buzzing with regulars and new customers, drawn in by the week-long coffee challenge. She moved through the crowd, serving drinks and pastries, but her mind kept drifting to Ethan. He was there too, across the street at the Ivy Lounge, occasionally peeking over at her cafe. Their eyes met, and for a moment the world around them disappeared. She felt a jolt of electricity, the kind that made her chest tighten and her stomach flutter. Then, to her surprise, he walked over. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, casually leaning against her counter. Diva froze, taken aback by the proximity. I don't see why you'd want to ruin your own reputation," she said, trying to mask the racing of her heart. Ethan smirked. "I think we both know this isn't about reputation anymore. It's about chemistry." Her breath hitched. "Chemistry? We are competitors, remember? Competitors who can't seem to stay away from each other," he replied, his gaze lingering on her lips for just a second too long. Diva's defenses wavered, and she found herself smiling despite herself. "You are infuriating," she whispered. "And yet you like it," he countered softly. Before she could respond, the cafe doors slammed open, and a gust of wind swept in, sending napkins flying. Diva laughed, trying to regain her composure, but Ethan's hand brushed hers while picking up the papers. The touch was electric, sending heat up her arm and making her pulse race. "I should go," he murmured, reluctantly pulling back. "Yeah," Diva said, though she didn't move. "Go, before you make me lose control." Ethan smiled, that infuriating, magnetic smile, and leaned in close. "Diva, I don't want to lose control." Her heart pounded. Lagos, the bustling streets, the chatter of customers, all faded away. In that moment, it was just the two of them, teetering on the edge of something dangerous, something irresistible. As he finally left, Diva leaned against the counter, trying to steady herself. She hated how much he affected her, yet a small, undeniable part of her thrilled at the thought of him. Something had changed between them, and neither could ignore it anymore. The next morning, Diva was in the kitchen of her cafe, kneading dough for fresh pastries. The early Lagos sun filtered through the windows, painting the room in warm golds and ambers. She was focused until a shadow fell across the counter. "Good morning," Ethan's voice said, low and teasing. Diva looked up, and there he was, smiling that infuriating smile that made her stomach twist. "You again?" she asked, half exasperated, half thrilled. "I could ask you the same," he replied, leaning casually against the counter. "But I didn't come here to argue. I came to learn." "Learn?" Diva raised an eyebrow. "To knead dough like you," he said, motioning to the tray. "You're the best at this, and I think I might finally need some tips." Diva stared at him, incredulous. You need my help?" He nodded solemnly, though the glint in his eyes betrayed him. "Yes, don't mock me. I'm serious." She laughed, the sound warm and airy, and stepped aside to let him try. He rolled up his sleeves and attempted to knead the dough, but it was clumsy, messy, and utterly uncoordinated. "You are hopeless," Diva said, trying not to laugh. "Maybe," he admitted, grinning, "but it gives me an excuse to stay close to you." Her breath caught. The words, the proximity, the heat radiating from him, it was too much. She tried to pull away, but he reached out, gently guiding her hands as they kneaded the dough together. Their hands brushed repeatedly. Each touch sent jolts through her, making her heart race. She could feel his body close to hers, their shared warmth almost unbearable in the small kitchen. "Ethan, we shouldn't," she began, voice trembling. He silenced her with a soft, teasing whisper. "We can't help it, can we?" Diva's defenses crumbled completely. Lagos buzzed outside, oblivious to the electric storm between them. And for the first time, she didn't care about rivalry, about competition. All she could feel was the pull toward him and the dangerous thrill of diving in. That evening, Lagos was drenched in neon and the hum of city life. Diva closed her cafe later than usual, exhausted from a day of bustling customers and the lingering coffee challenge. She was about to lock the door when a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. Ethan, drenched from the sudden rain, but grinning like he owned the night. "You forgot something," he said, stepping inside. Diva's heart skipped. "I don't think so," she replied, though her voice betrayed her nerves. He moved closer, deliberately slow, the faint scent of his cologne mixing with the warm aroma of her cafe. "I don't think either of us can stay away from each other," he murmured.